Hey y'all, let's take a look at fractional parts of numbers. Some of this is not algebra at all. It's just ratios and kind of being able to, draw pictures and kind of make educated guesses and just figure out methods. So this might take a little while to figure out and to get all right, but if it does, don't worry about it. Are you trying each lesson hard? Are you looking at these and giving it your best? Are you looking at the solutions manuals and trying to figure out things? If you are, don't sweat it. It'll come to you, even if it doesn't come to you perfectly. And look, you might hate math, and some of this stuff you might get through the end of the year and go, yeah, I just didn't really 100% get that. Well, I mean, you can ask a tutor to help you. You can ask mom or dad or some other adult you know to help you. You can ask an older sibling, a parole officer, any of your people that hang around your house regularly. You can ask for help. And you know what? If worst comes to worst, you never understand X% of what happens in an algebra book, not that you don't want to try. If you have tried, you're doing the best you can and you're getting help, just keep pushing forward and learning stuff, and don't let this ruin your life, okay? Math ruined all 4 years of my high school because I wasn't quite ready for the ones they put me into. So you try the best you can. Do the best you can before God. Do the best you can. And, don't sweat it, okay? But I'm going to give you some easier stuff to pill with today, and some things that are kind of maybe a little bit hard, but do the best you can and knock them out. So here we go. Let's look at this. Translate into an equation. This is the meat and potatoes. You've heard about these word problems. Now, a train leaves San Francisco at 8:13 a.m. and leaves another train leaves at 9:42 a.m. Well, what time, all that kind of stuff. Thing is, you can figure those things out if you just translate English words into equations, and that's what we're going to work on today. Let's do this, and this is a relatively simple one. 1/2 of 10 is 5. Let me tell you exactly how you need to do this. And again, I hope you are doing this with your notebook. Okay, it's really important to go notes, and go 28. And then so when you're doing a problem in the future and it has a little, 28 by the problem, you go, oh no, I forgot how to do these. I'm going to look back at my book. Well, instead of doing that, look back at your notes and the examples in your notes and see if anything you do there can help you with that. Anyway, let's try to find out a good way to do this. 1/2 of 10 is 5. If you're not familiar with this yet, I would definitely copy this down and make yourself a little chart. Okay, we're going to do this. 1/2 of 10 is 5. In other words, we're going to write an English equation, an English sentence, and turn it into an algebraic equation. You can do this. Watch this. 1/2, of course, is just 1/2, right? Of means to multiply. I'm going to use a dot. 10, and this is extremely difficult, but watch this. 10 turns into 10. All right, the is turns into an equals. The 5, again, watch carefully, turns into 5. All right, so this is our equation. 1/2 of 10, you can use parentheses or whatever, is equal to 5. Is that true? Yeah, 1/2 of 10 is equal to 5. Of means to multiply. Boom, you got it. Okay, how about this one? 2/3 of 12 is 8. You do that yourself. Pause it. 2/3 of 12 is 8. Write the English sentence, especially if you're having trouble with these or you're not familiar with them, then go ahead and do the algebra equation. Pause it and do it. Okay, well, we got it. 2/3 of times 12 is equals 8. There we go. Now, if you were to do this, you do 12 over 1, you'd go 2 times 12 is 24. 24 divided by 3 is, 8. It works. There you go. You got it. Okay. So we're going to do word problems like these. I'm going to give you 2 methods of doing this. And I promise you, once you do either one of these over and over, after several weeks or months go by, you're going to get this. Okay. So try both methods. Okay. And the first method is doing exactly what we just did on the previous page. All right. So copy this down and let's do this together. Okay. 3/4 of what number is 24? Very quickly, if you're a visual learner, you could draw a quick picture. 3/4 of what number is 24? You could go like this. You could go, oh, okay, here's 3/4 of some number. I don't know what it is, but I know this part is 24 right in there. So what's the whole number? Well, the whole number is going to be more than 24, right? Okay, just making sure that's in your head. All right, let's go through it together. First method is 3/4 of, multiply, what number, ooh, that's a new one, right? If we don't know the number, what do we often call it in algebra? X, right? Or N, or whatever you want. Use the first letter of your first name. Do that if you want. Is equals 24, boom, you got it, okay? Now look, let's mash together these two really quickly and go, okay, 3/4 X equals 24. Now, if you saw this in your algebra book, oh, problem 17 or whatever, you would look at that and go, oh yeah, I know how to do that. I just go like this. I go, okay, 4/3 right there, and then I go, okay, 4/3 right there, and of course those always cancel, and I have this here, I multiply. Oh wait, I can cancel 24 and 3, that gives me 8. So 8 times 4, I got it, 32. That's my answer. Is that sensible based on this? We want the whole number. Could that be 32 if most of it is 24? Of course it can. That's a very sensible answer, okay? That's method 1. Write this down for method 2. Okay, you ready? What you're going to do is not even think at all. You're going to write a fraction bar equals a fraction bar, and you're going to fill in the blanks. That's all you're going to do. 3/4 of what number is 24? Well, obviously, how many numbers do we need here in this fraction bar equals fraction bar to make this work? How many blanks are there? There's 4, right? Okay, you're going to need 4 numbers to put into here. Well, 3/4, there's 2 of them right there, right? That's a fraction, 3/4. Now we have 2 other numbers, a what number and a 24. Now what we said, but the thing is, what question is there about how to write the what number, in other words, x, and the 24? What do you need to know about the x and the 24? Which one goes where, right? Okay, well the question is, look at this picture. We figured out by drawing that picture that the number we're looking for is more than 24, right? I mean, we drew a little picture and went, oh yeah, 24 is 3/4 of some number. Oh, so the number must be more than 24, right? So knowing that, we have the bigger number is on the bottom of this fraction. That means on this fraction, the bigger number also has to be on the bottom, all right? We know that the bigger number is the other number, not 24, because the number we're looking for is more than 24, right? Here's the picture. We drew a picture. There's a 24. Oh, how much is this big thing? Oh, it's more than 24. We're going to match that. So we're going to put the 24 on top and the other number on the bottom. And again, the reason is because the bigger number 4 is on the bottom of this fraction. We want the bigger number to be on the bottom of this fraction as well. Okay, we know that this number we're looking for is bigger than 24 because 24 is only 3/4 of that number. Okay, anytime you see 2 fractions that are equal, you can always cross multiply to create an equation. This is what we're going to do. 3 times x is 3x. Then we're going to do 4 times 24. If you did the arithmetic, well, let's do this. 4 times 20 is 80, right? 4 times 4 is 16. 80 plus 16 is 96. If you saw this equation in your math book and they said, solve this, you would go, piece of cake. I'm going to divide by 3. I'm going to divide by 3. Let's see, 9 divided by 3 is 3. 6 divided by 3, 32. That's a 32. That's a 32. We got it. Either one of those methods, do it. Okay, try both of them and learn both of them. Let's do another one. Pause and copy. Copy that down. Okay, let's do method 1. What fraction of 80 is 64? Well, let's figure this out. What fraction? I don't know what that is. I'll call it x. Of means to do what? Multiply. Okay, of 80, there's my 80, is equals 64. There you go. Now, I don't like the way this looks here, so I'm just going to write 80x equals 64. Now, again, I want to point out, in your book, if they said, solve this problem, 80x equals 64, you'd go, no problem. Let's see here. I divide by 80 over here. I divide by 80 over here. I get x equals 64 over 80. Oh, I can knock that down by 8. So that's going to be 8 over 10. Ooh, I can knock that down again. That's going to be 4 over 5. And I got it. Okay, right? No big deal. Okay, the other method, let's do the other method. What fraction of 80 is 64? Okay, and again, don't even think. Fraction bar equals fraction bar. We need to figure this out. Okay, well, what fraction of 80 is 64? You know what? Let's hold off. I'm going to hold off on this method. Let's go to another one first, one that would work a little bit better. Let's go to method 1 on this example. So pause and copy. Pause and copy. 3.5 of 60 is what number? 3.5 of 60 is what number? All right, well, 3.5, I hate that. I'm going to do 7/2. Of means to do what? Multiply. Is means equals. And what number? X, right? And we got it. And you know how to do this. This is a piece of cake. You can go, cancel out a little bit here. That's going to be 60 over 2 is the same thing as 30. So 7 times 30, 7 times 3 is 21. So 7 times 30 is 210. Well, there you go. Look there. 210 is equal to X. Got it. Piece of cake. Now the other method, let's try the other method with the fractions. No thinking, just write a fraction equals a fraction. All right? 3.5 is going to be 7 over half. 7 over, there's two numbers. There's a 60, and there's a what number? There's your four numbers. Okay? 7 over 2 is two of those. Immediately, boom, 7/2. Now the only question is, the X we'll call, what number? Which goes where? Does the 60 go on top? Does this X go on top? How do we, okay, the question we need to ask ourselves is 3.5 of 60. Now is 3.5 of 60 more than 60 or is it less than 60? It's more, right? Okay, well, we have the bigger number right there. That's on the top. So the thing we're looking for, the what number, is also bigger than 60. So that goes on top as well. And the 60 goes on the bottom. Now look at this. When you see a fraction equals a fraction, you could cross multiply. So you go 2 times x, which is 2x. That equals 7 times 60. Well, 7 times 6 is 42. So that's times 60. And we know what to do. We divide by 2. We divide by 2. X is equal to 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 0 divided by 2 is 0. And there is your answer. 210, just like our 210 right there. Okay. All right. Let's look at the second part of this lesson, which is called functional notation. And I would write this definition down in my notes. This is a function. The definition of function gets really complicated sounding, and it's sometimes hard to explain, but I've made this as simple as I can for you. Okay, a function is this. When one value is inserted into an equation, only one value results from that, which might seem a little funky, but let's talk about that for a second. You will see things like this. And this is read, by the way, f of x. Sometimes you'll see g of x, or r of x, or t of x, or h of x, or whatever. But it's read f of x, which just means a function, some value, or you get something because 2x plus 5 is the rest of that function. And let's talk about this. Now, we can also sometimes call this f of x y, because it's another variable. Y is equal to 2x plus 5. Now let me give you an example of this. Here's the part right here that we're going to mess with. We're going to say that the y, in other words, the f of x, is going to be the amount of money you make. And the part over here is going to be the setup. And by the setup, I'll tell you what I mean. Let's say one day somebody comes up to you and says, hey, we got a homeschool moms conference here tonight for an hour. Okay, we're all going to get together and talk about curriculum and how we can torture our kids for the next year with homeschooling. All right, and here's what we're going to do. All these moms have these kids. They need to be babysat for an hour. Okay, well, we're going to pay you $5 just to show up and be available. All right, I don't care if any kids even show up. We're still going to pay you $5. But we will also pay you, every kid that shows up for the hour, we'll pay you $2. Okay? May I have a question for you? We'll forget the mowing example. Forget that right now. How much money are you going to make if you make $5 just to show up and you make $2 per kid? Exactly how much money are you going to make? You don't know, right? That depends on the what? Depends on the number of kids that show up, right? You can't go, oh, I'm going to make this. You can't wait. But if 10 kids show up, you're going to make the $5, right? You're also going to make $2 times 10 because 10 kids showed up, correct? So you're making 2 times 10, 20, plus 5, $20, right? So if the x, if you say f of 10, in other words, if the x is 10, the number of kids is 10, you will make $25. There's not going to be any question about how much money you make. In other words, the lady's going to look around and say at the end, okay, thank you for babysitting. Okay, there were 10 kids here, so gee, I don't know how much I should pay you. I could pay you 25, I could pay you 13. No, you're paying me 25 because the deal was $5 to show up and $10 for a kid. Hand it over right now, okay? Or, you know, or I won't do it next time or whatever, okay? So there isn't any question on how much money you're going to make. There will be $25. That's a function. You put in one amount, 10 kids, you make $25. If you put in 5 kids, 5 kids showed up, the lady goes, okay, 10, 2 times 5 is 10, 10 plus 5. Here's your $15. There's only one possibility. That's a function. That's all there is to it. Okay, well, let's do a couple of these. And you can copy these down, of course, pause. Evaluate this expression if x is equal to 2. Well, that's a piece of cake, right? We just write this entire expression, and every time we see an x, we just clop a 2 in there, right? So let's just write the whole thing over. There's a 2 there. We'll write 2 squared, which is 4. Then we'll write minus 3 times 2, which is 6, right? Okay, so we got 2 there. 4 minus 6 is negative 2, and the answer is negative 4, right? Piece of cake. All right, how about this one? Look at this. We have if f of x equals x times x squared minus 3x, find f of 2. Ooh, that sounds so mysterious. This is a piece of cake. By saying f of 2, that's the same thing as saying, oh, you babysat, let's say 10 kids, okay? So your x is equal to 10, $25. That's how much you make. Boom. You're doing exactly the same thing. The description of how you're solving this is a little wonky, but that's it. No big deal. Okay. All right. Well, if f of x is that, find f of 2. That means every single time you see an x, you're going to plop a 2 in there. So there's a 2 there. X squared, 4. Minus 3 times x, that's 3 times 2, 6. Does that look vaguely familiar? It's because it's the last problem, exactly the same thing. This is exactly the same thing as this. It's just described as in function notation. That's all, no big deal. All right, here's another one. You go ahead and pause it and solve for this one, evaluate that, and then when you're done, unpause it. Okay, well, let's do it together. If x is negative 2, that means negative 2 times negative 2 is 4, right? 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, boom. And then we have a negative 1, right? 4 times, I'll do parentheses first, negative 4 minus 1 is negative 5. So 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. That's all there is to it, okay? Look at this. If g of x equals x squared times 2x minus 1, find g of negative 2. Ooh, okay. This is exactly the same problem as this one right here. We say x is negative 2, evaluate x squared times 2x minus 1. All we're saying is g of negative 2, so evaluate x squared times 2x minus 1. It's the same thing. We don't have to do this. It's the same exact problem. It's just, you know, presented to you just a little bit differently. That's all. Okay. All right. Practice problems. Try A and pause it and come back when you're finished. Okay, we can do this 2 ways. I'll do it both ways. 4/3 of what number is 64? I'm just going to go left to right and create an equation. 4/3, 4/3. Of means multiply. What number? X. Is equals 64, 64, boom. And again, I want to point out, if they gave you this problem in your math book and said, solve this, you would say, no problem, I got it. I'm just going to multiply by the reciprocal, 3/4. And I'll put this over a 1 so it makes it easier. 3/4. Okay? You could cut this down if you wanted to. By 2's, that's a 32 there and a 2 there. You could go, oh, I'm going to cut it down again. That's a 1 there, and then 32 divided by 2 is 16. 16 times 3 is 48. That's method 1. Method 2 is going like this. A fraction equals a fraction. Okay? You fill in the blanks. We have a 4/3. There it is. There's 2 blanks. We have a what number, and we have a 64. Okay? Well, we have to figure out, is the number we're looking for less than 64 or more than 64? And the answer is less than 64, because you know, more than 1 times that number gives you 64, which means the other number has to be less than 64. Since the lesser number is on the bottom, that means the lesser number is on the bottom over here as well. So we can just do our little, you know, cross multiplying. 4 times x, 4x. That equals 64 times 3. Well, 60 times 3 is 180. 4 times 3 is 12. 180 plus 12 is 92. And then we just do the division. You know, in other words, you divide by 4, and you would get the answer 48. Same thing. Okay. All right, pause it and try B. All right, let's do it both ways very quickly. We'll do the fraction bar way first this time. How about that? Fraction bar equals fraction bar. 3 1/5, ugh, I hate that. 5 times 3 is 15 plus 1. I'll just say 16/5 of what number? Well, that gives me 2 numbers right there, 16/5. Okay, in other words, I'm saying 3 times some number is 48. So that number is going to have to be less than 48. Well, the lesser number is on the bottom, and that means the lesser number is on the bottom here as well. Okay, so let's take a look. 16 times x, 16x. 48 times 5, you would have figured out with arithmetic that it's 240. And if you did your long division, you would find that x is equal to 15. The other way, if we just went ahead and went left to right and said, okay, we're going to turn this into an algebraic equation, I'm going to go ahead and put 16/5. All right, so 16/5 of, multiply, what number, x, is equals 48. Boom, there we go. So all we need to do now is to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 5 over 16. I'll put this over a 1. 5 over 16. Yoink, that's done. I got my x. Okay, I'm ready to go. Okay, you could cut down if you want to 48 and 16 and just go, okay, that's going to be, you know, you could even do 4 if you wanted to. That'll be 4 there, and that'd be 12 there. And then you can go, wait a minute, 12 and 4, that's going to be 1 there, and then 3. Got it. So x is equal to 3 times 5, 15, divided by 1, 15, just like we said before. Okay. All right, pause it and try C. This time, just go ahead and go your algebra equation left to right. Don't use the fraction method. Okie doke. Let's take a look. What fraction of 60 is 48? What fraction, x, of 60 times 60 is 48 equals 48. I hate the way that looks, so I'm just going to go 60x equals 48. Don't forget, if you saw this equation in your math book, you would look at this and go, ah, it's easy. I just divide by 60. Which is, you're right, it is easy. All you need to do is make that sentence into that equation. 48 divided by 60, if you broke it down all the way, first off would be 8 by 10, then it'd be 4/5. So the answer is 4/5. Okay. All right, try D. Either way you want. Okay, let's take a look. 4 1/2 of 220 is what number? Let's try method 1 first. Okay, 9/2 of 220 times 220 is equals what number? X. Okay, well, we can kind of break this down if you want to, and look at this. You got a 220 on top and you got a 2 on the bottom. So if you just take this and divide by 2 right there, you can just cut that 220 exactly in half, and that's 110, right? Well, you know what 9 times 11 is. That's 99. So 9 times 110 is just the same thing with a 0 on it. Boom. X is equal to 990. All right, if you wanted to do the other way, you go, okay, no thinking at first, just fraction equals fraction. Okay, now you have 4 blanks to fill. You got to fill them. 4 1/2, that's 9/2 in other words, right? That's 2. Then I have 220. Then I have what number? So let's go ahead and put the 9/2 in there. Question for you. We have a 220 and we have an x. Which one is bigger? 4 1/2 times 220 is way bigger than 220, right? So the what number is bigger. So you're going to put the what number here. You're going to put the 220 there. All right? Cross multiply. 2 times x is 2x. 9 times 220. Man, that's a big one, but you can do it. It's 1980 if you just did the multiplication. All right, last step is you cut that in half, divide by 2, and you would get exactly the same thing you did over here at 990. There you go. Okay. All right, let's try E. Pause it and try E. Okay, well this is a piece of cake. You're just gonna plop in -1 every time you see an X, right? Okay, so your question is, what is -1 times -1? And the answer is 1, right? A negative times a negative is a positive. 1 minus 3 is equal to -2. That is all she wrote. Boom, there you go. All right, last one, and pause it and try F. Try F. Okay, and again, G of 2 means you're going to put in 2 every time you see an X in here. So your new expression becomes a 2 there, a 2 squared, which is a 4, minus 3, and that's G of 2. So that's going to be 2 times 4 minus 3, 1, or just 2. And there you go. That's all there is to it. Okay. All right. Hope that was not too long, but hope that helped. And you guys take it easy. Have a great day. See you next time.